As he said, my name is Investigator Sorgenfrey. I'm with the Nebraska State Patrol, and I'm stationed out of the Lincoln office. Just a little background about myself. I joined the State Patrol in 2003. I spent the first 4.5 years of my career on the road, working in a uniform capacity, and then I transferred over to the Investigative Services Division. I've been there for about 5 years now. I spent the first 2 years in narcotics, and the last 3 years working high-tech crimes or cyber crimes. And since that time, we've, cyber crimes and online incidents has really gone up. People are becoming more aware, and as we get through the presentation, I think both the kids and the parents are both going to see that there's a lot of things out there that are monitoring online activity, and there's a lot of resources, and there are a lot of things that kids definitely need to be aware of when they have access to the digital equipment that they have in their hands. And the clicker didn't work, so Caleb's just going to advance it. The purpose why we're here today isn't to give some sort of a happy song and dance about things that are nice, and it's really to just be realistic about a lot of the threats that exist online. A lot of parents, I think, associate the internet with something other than reality. In other words, you wouldn't let your kid go down to an area in Omaha or Lincoln where there's a lot of gang violence, a lot of narcotics, and a lot of other things. But people online and kids online and the parents, they don't think about monitoring and controlling access to the internet because they think of it as this mystical, magical place that doesn't really touch my kid, and my kids don't necessarily have to be concerned about it. So hopefully once we get through the presentation, you'll have a different outlook on some things to consider on the internet. Obviously, in today's day and age, the online content is everywhere, and it's accessible at the tips of your fingers. Kids have phones. I would venture to guess that most kids in this room have phones. I've heard of kids having phones as early as 9 years old, having iPhones, having access to Facebook, social networking sites, and a number of other different places. And while these sites are well-intentioned and they're not intended to harm your children or put your children at risk, you're going to find out that there is risk out there, and that you just need to be aware of it and be thinking about it when your kids are accessing these kinds of websites. So some of the things that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about sending leaked text messages or cyberbullying. It's a big catchphrase, but it does exist and it's a reality. We're going to talk about pictures and things that kids post online that they don't think about. What are the ramifications or what kind of things are going to happen if I post this picture of myself or whatever. We're going to talk about who you're communicating with online, your kids, who they're communicating with online. And then hopefully after today you'll be more active in kind of figuring out who are my children talking to, what are they talking about, and what are some of the things that I need to be concerned about. And then also we're going to talk about sex. Kids online, there's a lot of things that they have access to. Depending on how closely you filter your internet content, they have access to all kinds of things that most people, most parents in this room, including myself, never had access to when we were growing up. And so these are some of the realities that these kids are faced with. Control your online content. A lot of kids in today's day and age, and the kids in the room, you guys probably are thinking, okay, this is an hour and a half of my life that I'm never going to get back, and I'll blow this guy off. But the reality is that a statistic recently came out from our Cybercrimes Task Force commander, and he said that 85%, statistically, approximately 85% of images of people, including children, that are taken nude end up on a pornographic website. 85%. That means statistically, if you decide to take a photograph or something of yourself, chances are it's going to end up on a pornographic website someplace. I've worked cases where we've had kids who were underage and they took videos or they took pictures of themselves for their boyfriends or their girlfriends, and it ended up online and it ended up out in the community. And those things happen so fast, and you can't take it back once it's out there. It can't just be pulled back because it spreads so rapidly that it's done. It's just a done deal. This is a funny little video. We'll play it for you, just something to kind of funny, I guess. Maybe.
Now that I'm done with high school, everyone wants to know, what college am I going to? It's a mystery. No, but seriously, I can't tell you guys. Why? Because I got some pretty creepy emails like this one. Hey Kev Jumba, this is Emily. I really want to know what college you're going to because I'm applying for school soon and it'd be so cool if we were at the same college together. So you should tell me. I'm not a stalker or anything, I promise. Whoa, you're not fooling me. You're not fooling me, Emily. Just because you say you're not a stalker doesn't mean you're not a stalker. That's like me asking someone, hey, where do you live? What's your address and your zip code? Oh, don't worry. I'm not trying to stalk you or anything.
So that's kind of a funny video. Now down to reality. There's a story that I was told in preparation for one of these classes, and it's a real story. It involved a young girl who was online. She was on Facebook, and she was communicating with who she thought was a young man, and to her it was a harmless conversation, and she thought she was going to be dating this guy and that they were going to have an online relationship. And she's communicating with him, and she tells him what her name is, where she lives, what school she goes to, but she's smart, so she says, hey, I'm not going to tell you where I live. The guy is efficient enough because you can access anything on the World Wide Web today. He figures out where she lives. And her brother comes home one day from school and he sees that the chairs and stuff had been overturned in the room and that there was a struggle in the house. And they notify 911 and they call the police. And the police come and it takes us a little while, but we can move pretty efficiently when we need to. And it takes a little bit of time for them to get access to everything and to start kind of tracking down, what exactly is going on here. And they finally figure out who the suspect is. And they also track down that he has a storage unit in an area. So as the police are setting up, they get the SWAT team out. They go up to the storage unit and they hear a gunshot. And then they hear another gunshot. And they open up the storage unit and they find both the victim and the assailant deceased, laying there, dead. These are the realities of online activity. These are the real problems, the real risks about what you're doing online. These things are not things that happen outside of your community. These are things that happen in the state of Nebraska. These are things that happen in small communities just like Palmyra and other communities around the state. We investigate it all the time. So these are some of the things that you need to think about when you're communicating with people you don't know online. You have to think about, what is this person maybe trying to do? What are they trying to figure out about me? What are they capable of doing? So these are some of the things that you guys definitely need to be thinking about when you're giving out this information. And for those of you girls who are going to college in a year or two, you need to think about the fact that if you give out your information, you start communicating with people online, they can figure out what your classes are, where you're going to college, and they can start to stalk you, and they can start to do these things. So you need to be aware of who you're communicating with and who they are, and make sure that you know them. This is about a marijuana grow in a kid's closet that he posted online. He was arrested, obviously. We did a little bit of research before we came out here, and we found some kids in the Palmyra school who have Facebook accounts where they are pictured with alcohol. We found pictures of girls in bikinis. We found all kinds of pictures. We don't bring those. We have brought them in the past and embarrassed kids in front of all of their peers. But think about what you're posting online. Think about who's seeing it. Think about what kind of a reputation you want to leave behind and how that's going to impact you later on in your life or if you try to get a job. Facebook gets national team expelled. This is one of the biggest things that we can counter. Kids get online and they start to post things that harass other students. They post inappropriate comments. And they find themselves expelled from school. You guys need to be aware when you have these iPads, these new cool devices, right at your fingertips, and you're thinking, man, this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to have this iPad, and somebody sends something to you, and you send it back. Who do you think's monitoring these? The school's monitoring these. Right? The school's monitoring these. And if you think they're not, then you definitely are probably living in a fantasy land, because we get calls from schools who monitor all of their computers. We get calls from Yahoo. We get calls from Facebook. We get all kinds of Meet Me, you name it. Facebook, MySpace, any social networking site out there, they all monitor what's happening on their websites. So as soon as a young kid puts a picture online, naked, or has a conversation with somebody that's inappropriate, they call us. Hopefully, by me telling you that, it's not a big secret. My hope is that it will prevent you the next time you're chatting with somebody, or they ask you for a naked picture, or they ask you for something inappropriate, you'll stop for a moment, you'll say to yourself, ooh, you know what? I don't want that police officer coming to my high school to talk to me, because I guarantee you, we've talked to people in schools, we've talked to kids about things like this, and we still do it every day. And, hopefully we won't have to come to Palmyra to contact any of you kids in regards to some of this stuff. Watch what you post. Obviously, if you have jobs or you have teachers or people that you interact with, be smart about what you post. I mean, you may think it's cool. You may think, you know what, I'm gonna try and belittle this person because I want to be a bigger person. Don't. Stop and think about it, okay? There's going to be a little bit later on about cyberbullying that we're going to go into. Know your friends. This is one of the biggest things that when we do some of these research, we'll look at how many friends kids have. And just by a show of hands, how many kids in here have over 100 Facebook friends? How many of you are not listening? Okay. Raise your hands high if you have over 100. Okay. Over 200? 300? 500? 1,000? Okay. We once had somebody who had over 1,000 friends. There's no way that you know 1,000 people on Facebook. So you need to know who these people are. Another little example here in the state of Nebraska. Again, this isn't New York City or Chicago. This is the state of Nebraska. We work a case of an adult male, 28 years old. He's posing as a 14-year-old child. This adult male goes out and he tries to meet young girls who are 14, 15, 16 years of age. By the time we intercepted him after we received a tip, he had 9 victims in 9 states. 9 victims in 9 states. Another case was a young man, in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, who had probably close to 20 victims, all categorized. Okay? You don't know who these people are that you're communicating with, and if you don't know them, and they're not your friend, and they're not somebody that you interact with, and can confirm, yes, this is a child, delete them. Get rid of them. You don't need them. You've got plenty of friends to talk to in real life. You don't know who these people really are. And you're running the risk of having them try to exploit you at some point in time.